We have both merit and need-based aid, and for the merit program, that's handled actually through the recruiting arm of the admissions office. Students have to apply by December 1 to be considered. It's a much earlier deadline, and we try to be certain that they're very aware of that. It's somewhat disheartening to talk to the student in April who would have been a wonderful candidate and just completely missed the deadline. But for the merit process, they apply by December 1, and then the finalists are chosen to actually come visit the campus on a weekend in February. For the need-based process, we ask the students to complete the free application for Federal Student Aid, or FAFSA, and we have our own institutional application that asks for a few more questions just so that we can administer our institutional funds. The deadline for the need-based process is March 1, same deadline every year, so we hope our students remember that after the first year and file on time. A typical need-based package for a student would include grant money, be that federal, state grant money, more than likely some of our institutional grant money, and then what we refer to as self-help. So the student would see in a need-based package both work study and some loan component. The loan component varies depending upon the student's test scores and grades upon their enrollment. So we will look at those test scores and their grades to determine how much of a loan they would have in their package. At over 60% currently. This was a relatively unique year for financial aid offices. The most important thing that I very personally ask students to do with us is go through the process. We'll have families visit and make the assumption that we're a relatively expensive private college and they can't afford to be here. Mm-hmm. But if you don't at least go through the process with us, you don't know that. So we strongly suggest that families do go through the application process. Another thing that we've found over the years is every so often there's someone that doesn't recognize that there are payment plans. There are parental loan options out there, and we want to be certain they're aware of those financing options, because for some families, and I use very personal examples, I have my own 23-year-old college freshman, and you can have all the plans in the world you want, but your children may not necessarily follow those plans. So sometimes a student finds a school like Sewanee when the parent was not necessarily anticipating our cost structure. So what we want them to see is that maybe with the financial aid package, what they had planned for in the way of college expenses, a payment plan, long or short-term financing, that if this is the best fit for that student, that we can help them find a way to make it happen. A lot of these are very, very personal decisions. Some families come to us and they're adamant that their student will not borrow. We respect that decision. It doesn't necessarily mean that we would be in a position to replace that loan for the student, but we help them work through those options, because at the end of the day, each family is very, very unique, and it's a very personal decision on what's going to fit for their financial situation. So we want to make sure they have all the tools and the information to make those decisions. So I pretty much beg families to please complete the process with me, because if you don't, you're sitting there in April trying to make that decision and you don't know what your financial aid might have been here. And I want to be sure that the students and their parents have the best information possible to make that decision.